Thanks for staying with us on SABC News. The Western Cape Minister of Agriculture, Ivan Meyer, briefed the media a short while ago about the impact of floods on the agricultural sector. SABC News reporter Mariska attended that briefing and joins us live. A very good afternoon to Mariska. Just give us an overview of what was said there.
Well, it's definitely one of those occasions in the Western Cape where people were caught unawares with the amount of rain that came down. And as we heard here in the West Coast District Municipality, we're actually at the disaster centre for the West Coast District Municipality. All hands were on deck. The major problem right now is infrastructure, but there's also issue in relation to certain agricultural products. To give us a little bit more of the information that is available, we have Dr. Ivan Meyer, who's the MEC for Agriculture in the province. MEC, thank you for joining us. Can you give us in broad terms the impact of all this rain that we've seen in the last week?
Well, this is firstly a massive disaster, major disruptions in the agricultural value production, but also during the harvest season. And therefore, our focus here in this disaster are on 4 areas. Firstly, to protect life. For us, that is very important. But also farmers are now busy in the harvest season. This is a major region for citrus, and the harvest is at risk. And the third focus for us here is to look at the farming communities. We know in some areas the farming communities have been cut off as a result of the damage of the infrastructure. And that's why the fourth focus area for our intervention here at this disaster management center, but also the provincial disaster management center, is the restoration of the road infrastructure and infrastructure in general. But my main purpose is to support the farmers, and that's why we are doing a proper risk assessment, so to see what we can do. Wednesday, we will now have a cabinet meeting where this matter will be discussed, and my colleague Minister Bradell will then further roll out support for this massive disaster. This is a disaster we haven't seen in years because the dam levels have increased, particularly the Klein Willem dam level from a couple of days back from 29% to 92%. This is a disaster. There's no doubt in my mind about the negative impact, particularly on the harvest season, but also for the transportation of these products to the markets. And that's why our colleague, my Minister of Infrastructure, Minister Simmers, is currently working around the clock for the restoration of the road infrastructure so that our products can reach the markets and particularly the harbour in Cape Town.
Agriculture in the Western Cape is a massive job creator, and the province is also the largest agri-producer and exporter. What impact could it have on those exports?
Well, it will definitely have an impact on the exports because we are responsible for 55% of South Africa's agricultural exports. And the extent of the damage, particularly in the region of the Cape Winelands, which is the biggest softfruit industry south of the equator, the Overberg region, and definitely here in the West Coast, we will see a negative impact on the export of our agricultural exports, but also the agricultural production values, because this extent of this we will still see for many months to come. And that's why it is important as soon as possible that it is feasible for us to go and do proper assessments on the farms. We will then certainly determine the extent. Certainly the industries that will be negatively affected is the potato industry, also the wine industry, but also the citrus industry and also the bee industry. About 10,000 beehives have been destroyed in this area. We know how important bees is in the agricultural value chain, and so this is a massive disaster for the agricultural sector. They just come out of COVID-19, the drought, and now this, and also the impact of the war. And my heart bleeds, but also for our farming communities, because many of them cannot even go to the shops. And that's why I want to thank all the partners for the humanitarian relief and support, partners like the West Coast District Disaster Centre, the district municipalities, even ShopRite and Gift of the Givers, and all these people that have been helping us to find a humanitarian relief effort. This is a massive responsibility, and I'm very happy that the farming communities are also working closely with us to restore the situation.
At this point, do you know if there will be an impact on food security?
Up to this stage, we haven't done that particular assessment, but I think by Wednesday we will get preliminary reports to indicate to that. But I'm confident one thing of farmers: they are resilient and they will overcome this crisis as they overcome many other crises. And I believe that we will survive this particular situation, and I have little doubt there will not be a major crisis in food security.
Just lastly and briefly, Minister, do you expect that the province will be declared a disaster area?
Well, for me, there's absolutely no doubt that this must be declared as a disaster, but scientifically, methodologically, the colleagues and the officials at the technical level, they will go out, do some preliminary assessments, write the report, firstly to see whether there is a feasibility to declare a local disaster, then a provincial disaster. But what I have seen on the ground, the impact on farms, this must be declared a disaster, in my opinion, as the Western Cape Minister for Agriculture.
Thank you very much. That was the MEC for Agriculture, Dr. Ivan Meyer, speaking about the very serious impact that the recent flooding in the Western Cape has had. The major one right now is that there are certain towns and roads that are completely inaccessible, so infrastructure is a massive issue. Cutting whole towns off, of course, Clan William was one of those towns that was cut off from the outside world. That's just one of several that was severely impacted. And then, of course, the infrastructure to actually get into the orchards and to transport the goods to the harbours for exports and to get to the different points of distribution. So there's a lot of work that lies ahead, and as you heard from the MEC, on Wednesday the Provincial Cabinet will take certain decisions to take decisive steps to address the major disaster, as the MEC called it, to address it effectively.
Thanks, Mariska, for that update from the Western Cape.